Hello, this is Jessica Godfrey, and welcome to Searching Through History Using the Civil War Soldiers and Sailors System, also known as CWSS. So what is the Civil War Soldiers and Sailors System? Well, first of all, the CWSS database is a joint effort between the National Park Service, which is an agency within the U.S. Department of the Interior, and several public and private partners. Their goal is to enhance Americans' understanding of the Civil War by making its information widely available. The database was created in 1993 and was completed in 2004. It contains millions of service records of those who fought in the North and the South during the U.S. Civil War, which dates from 1861 to 1865. The database also is made up of 8 categories, which are soldiers, sailors, regiments, cemeteries, battles, prisoners, medals of honor, and monuments. The CWSS database can be found at the link I provided at the bottom of the slide. So why would one want to use the CWSS database anyways? Well, one of the reasons is that it's an exceptional research tool for students, teachers, historians, genealogists, and for anyone interested in learning more information about the Civil War. It's also a great resource for school projects, reports, and papers, and also for doing genealogical research, such as finding an ancestor who fought during the Civil War, or for academic and scholarly research, such as writing a thesis, a dissertation, a journal article, or maybe a book for publication. To access the CWSS database, you can click on the link provided on top of the slide, or else type in the web address into the box and press enter. Here's what the main page looks like. It can consist of a little bit of information on the database itself, and also links on the left-hand side explaining each of the categories from soldiers to monuments. If you scroll down the main page for the CWSS database, you'll find links to the following 8 categories. For the soldier section, the basic source for all the names entered into the CWSS system comes from 6.3 million general index cards for the soldiers, both from the Union and Confederate sides who had served in the Civil War. General index records derived from muster rolls, which were routine official records kept by the Union and Confederate armies. Although around 3.5 million soldiers actually fought in the war, a soldier serving more than one regiment, serving under 2 names or spelling variations, resulted in 6.3 million general index cards for 3.5 million soldiers. For the next category, the sailor section, this contains records of 18,000 African American Civil War sailors, with the research conducted by Howard University. The information about the sailors is derived from enlistment records and muster rolls. For the regiment section, you can search unit histories of over 4,000 Union and Confederate regiments. And for the cemetery section, the thousands of soldiers killed in the Civil War are buried in the 14 national cemeteries managed by the National Park. They are still in the process of listing the names of all those interred, but so far one can search names of soldiers in the Poplar Grove National Cemetery at Petersburg National Battlefield in Virginia. If you scroll down further on the CWSS's main page, you'll find the remaining categories. For the battle section, although there were more than 10,000 armed conflicts during the Civil War, the CWSS provides the histories of nearly 400 battles deemed most significant by the National Park Service's American Battlefield Protection Program. For the next category, prisoners, one can search prisoner records and view histories for 2 prisons. Fort McHenry in Baltimore, Maryland, where 15,000 Confederate soldiers were confined, and the Andersonville prison, located in Andersonville, Georgia, where 45,000 Union soldiers were confined. For the Medals of Honor category, this contains the records of the recipients of this award for their courageous acts of duty. The Medal of Honor is the highest military decoration awarded by the U.S. government, and it was established during the Civil War in 1862. These records come from the U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs report. And for the last category, monuments, this contains information about thousands of monuments, markers, and memorials dedicated to the Civil War. Here is a sample search that I want to conduct using the CWSS database. It's about my great-great-great-grandfather, Taylor Webster Esty. He's on my father's side. It's in fact my father's mother's family, because his mother's last maiden name was Esty. And he always told me stories about having a drummer boy in the family who fought in the Civil War. I don't know about fought, but drummed his way through the Civil War. And the only information I could ever find about him was that he was born in 1848, and I don't know when he died, but it was after the Civil War, since I have some records about his children being born later in the 1800s, so like in the 1870s and 80s. Well, anyways, here's the following information I wish to further know about him during his Civil War days. And that is, was he actually in the Civil War? Was it just stories and tales of him being in the Civil War as a drummer boy? Also, I want to know if he was really a drummer boy during the Civil War. Also, what was the name of his regiment and its location? I know his family's from Ohio, but he could have moved around. So, and also I want to know what his rank is. Since I'm looking up information on my great-great-great-grandfather who supposedly served in the Army during the Civil War, I'm going to look particularly on the soldiers section of the database. I wish I could present all the categories in depth, but due to time constraints, I can just focus on one, and that will be the soldiers section. So to access this section, you need to click on the picture entitled Soldiers. After you click on the picture entitled Soldiers, a new box appears. So next you click on the Explore These Records link within the Soldiers box. After you click on the Explore These Records link, you will be brought to this page, which is the main page for the soldiers database. When you search for soldiers, you can either search by keyword, by last name, by first name, by side, if they're in the Union or the Confederate. You can search by state, their rank coming into the Army and their rank coming out of the Army. Or by function. By function means if they were engineers or in the artillery, or if they were part of the cavalry or the infantry. And after you're done filling out what you know about who you're looking for, then you click on the Show Results button located at the bottom of the box. For my sample search on my great-great-great-grandfather, I put in the following information. I typed in his last name, Esty, his first name, Taylor, and what side he was on during the Civil War. So I put in Union. And next I clicked on the Show Results button located at the bottom of the box. After clicking on the Show Results link, the following result pops up. It's for soldiers for the first name Taylor, the last name Esty, and a Union soldier. It brought up one person's name, known as Taylor W. Esty. And since my great-great-great-grandfather's middle name was Webster, this seems to be the person I'm looking for, Taylor W. Esty. It says that his regiment's name was 65th Regiment, Illinois Infantry, Scotch Regiment on the Union side, and his alternate name was Taylor W. Esty. The variations in spelling of the last name is quite common in my family's history, because it used to be spelled E-S-T-I-E in the 1800s, and then it was E-S-T-E-Y, and currently it's spelled as E-S-T-Y. So it just goes to show that some last names do change in spelling every so often. And this time I'm going to click on the Taylor W. Esty link to see what that brings up. After clicking on the link entitled Taylor W. Esty, I found more details on him, such as his regiment's name, once again, Union side, but this time it talks about the company. His company was letter E. His soldier rank in and out of the Army was private. It gives his alternate name again, and his film number, which is his muster roll number of M539 roll 27. And there's also a note. It says the original filed under Taylor W. Esty, and that's with the alternate name, E-S-T-E-Y. Next I'm going to click on the regiment link called 65th Regiment, Illinois Infantry, Scotch Regiment, to see what information comes out of it. After clicking on the 65th Regiment, Illinois Infantry, Scotch Regiment link, I am now on a new page called Union Illinois Volunteers. It gives an overview on the 65th Regiment, such as where they went, where they fought, and its dates. It says here that they were organized at Camp Douglas in Chicago, Illinois in 1862. And they traveled to such states as West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, and were discharged in Chicago, Illinois in 1865. Another thing I found very interesting was at the bottom of this slide, where it talks about the numbers killed by either on the battlefield or by disease. It states, regiment lost during service, 1 officer and 30 enlisted men killed and mortally wounded, and 1 officer and 97 enlisted men by disease. Total 129. This statistic is very important if you're doing a report or a paper, say, on mortality in warfare, because throughout history these numbers are very common to show that disease was actually the #1 killer rather than being killed on the battlefield. Because this statistic right here, 31 killed and mortally wounded, compared to 2/3 more, 98, being killed by disease. Although I don't know the number of those that were actually in the regiment, 129 it gives for the total of those killed, but I don't know how many were actually in the regiment itself. Apart from that, even though I didn't find out if my great-great-great-grandfather was a drummer boy, at least I found some interesting information about him that I never knew before, such as I had no idea he fought in Illinois and joined their regiment, because his family's from Ohio, so he must have moved or went to the next state and joined up for the war. Also, I didn't know he ranked as private. And also, I didn't know his regiment number. I didn't know which regiment he was in at all, so I found some very interesting things, and even though I didn't find out that he was a drummer boy, I guess I'll have to dig deeper in history and find out if he was or not. Maybe I'll find out, maybe not, but at least this presents a new challenge for me.